So, thanks for coming. Good morning, almost afternoon. And on behalf of the Bank Policy Institute, welcome to the FinTech Ideas Festival. Some of you are probably wondering, what's a BPI and why are they hosting a FinTech Ideas Festival? So I'll tell you a little bit about that. If you don't know us, we're sort of a startup too. We were founded last year, including by some of the folks in this room, but basically the CEOs of the nation's leading banks, to engage in a variety of functions, not all relevant here today. We serve as an industry think tank, so we do academic quality research on issues like bank capital, liquidity, financial stability, even monetary policy implementation. We also do advocacy on behalf of the banking industry with the bank regulators, but also both domestically and abroad, but then increasingly also with the Hill. We also increasingly try to get the word out a little further than the regulatory community and the Hill community through both traditional and social media. So we take our nerdy research papers and turn them into one-pagers and we tweet and things like that to try to get the word about. But most important for today, we also have a technology and innovation hub, which is headed by Feeney, who was doing FinTech before FinTech was FinTech. And his group, BITS, focuses on issues like critical infrastructure protection, cybersecurity, anti-fraud work, anti-money laundering work, and all increasingly now AI and its role in both banking and all of society and also in regulation. So all of that work sort of comes together under his auspices, but also importantly with Heather Hogshead, who I think you'll also be hearing from later, who is sort of the beating heart of the FinTech Ideas Festival, and I'm sure most of you have met. So that's sort of the team and the idea. In terms of what we're up to for the next 2 days, I really have two goals. First is that we put on sort of interesting and topical content. But then the second is that we also get out of the way enough that you can all chat among yourselves and probably have more productive discussions offline than some of the ones we're having online. But in the spirit of getting out of the way, I'm going to do that now. I'm going to turn it over to Chris, and he will speak to you in your language. All right.
Greg, thank you. Thanks very much. I hope I speak to you in your language. So thank you, everyone, for coming. I have a few remarks, and then we're going to start right in with the panels. But a couple of things. It's our second festival, so really glad you're here. We're looking for a series of different things out of it, but I think more importantly than anything else is to stimulate your thinking. We go back 2 years, which is when we held our first FinTech Ideas Festival. We really generated a lot of thought. The industry has come quite a long way since then. But we're appreciative, A, that you're here, B, that you're willing to have that conversation. We have main stage time, which will be broadcast by CNBC, and a lot of private salon sessions as well. And we're going to cover the gamut. And if I think about the last time we did this, we're going to cover artificial intelligence. We'll certainly look at the future of data and privacy. We'll talk about convenience. And last time the question was, does convenience trump trust? Right now, I would say not only that, it's continuing to trump trust. We'll talk about international trends, and we'll certainly talk about how partnerships are the future. I think we're in the middle of a very different era than we were 2 years ago when we first did this. Last time there was hyperactive interest in FinTech. It was just palpable. Today it's a bit more rational, right? We're really lightning quick to this day, but the promises for tomorrow, the way that we're dealing with partnerships, the way they're interacting as industries is very different. The other thing that we did last time was there was a lot of discussion 2 years ago about the outright disruption of traditional financial markets. I mean, the markets were going to end. The consumer is at the center of this. The financial industry as a whole was going to be disrupted. So you had disruptor banks, you had disruptor insurance companies, you had disruptor technologies, and you had a disrupted consumer. That's not the case anymore. We also had sessions on cybersecurity, certainly front and center for most of us to this day. The same thing on rewriting your software with the basic recommendation that you were going to rewrite your company, that it was important really to rethink about who you were, how you supplied product, who your consumers were, and how you reached them. We also talked quite a bit about blockchain, but specifically around cryptocurrencies. Not sure where we sit with that today. And more so the efficiency. Are there ways to operate blockchain technologies to help these companies be more efficient, more effective, find what today might be an opaque market and make it a more transparent market, as an example? I think the other things that happened were many of these materialized. So you saw a lot of this come to play, but a lot didn't. In today's world, we're much more even-paced. where, Greg was, chiding me a little bit. I've been in FinTech before it was FinTech, which is true. I've done this for about 38 years at this point. And I think we're in a much more even-paced period. Business cases matter, how you represent what that product can do for you, your consumers, who to partner with, how to partner with them is quite a bit different. And that's because the consumer has in their hands something that's easy, something that's efficient to use, something that's accessible. It's much more meaningful for the consumer these days than it was. We're in essence in an era of the digital consumer. Very different way to reach them. I pulled some stats from some studies that were done by another research firm. Every minute in the US, every day, you have 13 million texts are sent. You have 3.8 million Google queries made. You have 1,111 Amazon packages shifted. I don't know how many of you on Sunday morning or Saturday morning get your screen time notice. Like, I don't care for it. I don't want to know I was 15% up or 8% down. And my wife likes it less, right? So it's like, I don't need to know that. But that's the environment that we're in today. We've seen peer-to-peer payment programs, Zelle, Venmo. We've seen credit scores change with alternatively informed credit decisioning. We've seen partner bank models that combine both the best of the banking industry and the best of the consumer industry. So it's really a very different time, and we've seen some infrastructure changes. Certainly a lot easier to stand up a cloud environment, but the big change is really around data and its access, with aggregators, with APIs, with defined ways to get at information. And that is changing personal finance, business finance, payments industries, everything we really talk about. Winding the clock back a little bit, we were worried 2 years ago about biometrics. What would it mean for privacy? Everybody thumbprints, everybody face identifies. It's meant a lot, but it really hasn't meant that much because people are choosing the convenience of access, the seamlessness of getting to products they want. Now, we've seen certainly an influx of privacy regulations and privacy comments, which we'll talk about a little bit later. The unbundling of the bank didn't happen. We're actually seeing a consolidation of services. You see everything from acquisitions to notable ones in Q1, with Fiserv making a large acquisition and FIS Global recently. But you're also seeing a bundling happening under some of these technology firms. We're seeing services offered by non-traditional banks, hybrid checking accounts, debit reward programs, for instance. What is that leading to? Well, it's leading to, for the first time in years, a discussion at least around concentration risk. Who are your partners? How are you interacting with them? How large are they? What do they mean for the entire ecosystem? The other question, and I mentioned it just a little bit earlier, is around privacy and data, right? So there's a whole aspect of data that's used. The Internet of Things is supplying information on your wrist or on your breast pocket that didn't get supplied before. So we have to really understand that. We have to use it for good, use it basically to target and provide more customized client services for our members and our clients. And you're seeing it throughout where and how you might use technology: healthcare services, entertainment, retail, financial services. So it's a really important time, and it's a really important time. Greg had mentioned what BPI does. We certainly are a policy shop. We work a lot with the regulators. We work a lot with financial technology firms like yourselves. But it's a really important time for shaping the dialogue around regulation, around privacy, around consumer protection. That spans everything from artificial intelligence, how it's used in practical ways for things like AML, or fraud detection or cybersecurity protection, but also how it's used for the good of the customer, how it's used maybe for financial inclusion as an example. The last thing that we'll talk about as we finish up these next 25 hours is around basically the deployment of chatbots, which are pervasive at this point. But now we're seeing robots, we're seeing robotic automation, and we'll finish the sessions with Hanson Robotics, which talks about the social and human value of bots. They have social bots and cobots or companion bots. So I think it'll be a really interesting discussion as we get to that point. Some questions I'll leave you with. Will 5G, will quantum make a difference? Where will it make a difference? We'll talk about that today, a little bit later. How will we advance these capabilities for the good of the consumer, so responsibly advance them? What are we thinking about from a policy perspective? We've been importers, for instance, of privacy regulation. Will we remain in that case? We'll be exporters of technology. That's all good to know. And what will the bank of the future or the financial firm of the future look like? Those are all big questions, but more importantly, what will the customer want from the financial firm of the future? I think that's the big question that this will hopefully inform, that we need to think about as collective industries. The collaboration we do, the partnerships we have matter. Really excited for everyone being here. Thank you for the members. Certainly thank you for affiliate members, the financial technology firms, the futurists, the academics. We have a large group and a mixed group in the room, hand-selected, frankly, to be here to have the kind of conversations we want to have. Before we move on, I have some thank yous to give out. We certainly want to thank the underwriting sponsors, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, MasterCard, and Visa. We really appreciate your help. The major sponsors, KeyBank and TD Bank, and also our contributing sponsors. So BB&T, Citi Ventures, Fifth Third, SunTrust, and US Bank. None of this would happen without your support, so we really do appreciate it. So I'm going to also reference, CNBC, as you will see through the panels today. They're our exclusive broadcast partner. We're thrilled to have them. They were here last time, and it really makes a difference. They brought in a fantastic crew. A lot of their experts from many of their well-known programs are going to be on stage over the next 25 hours doing the interviews and intermingling with the group. So thank you to CNBC as well.